The red helmet lay abandoned in the snow, a splash of crimson against pristine white. Megan Anders stared at the photo, her stomach twisting into knots. For 18 months, this image had haunted her dreams. The last trace of her brother Tyler before he vanished on that school ski trip. Everyone else had accepted the official story, tragic accident, body never recovered. But now, with trembling fingers, she held a postcard that changed everything. The Swiss mountain scene might mean nothing to others, but the message scrawled across it froze her blood. The red bird flies at night. Tyler's handwriting. Her dead brother was alive, and sending her a message. Before we dive into this mystery, I'm curious, where are you watching from, and what time is it there right now? Let me know in the comments below. The snow globe caught the afternoon light, sending prisms dancing across Megan Anders' bedroom wall. Inside, a tiny skier in a red helmet stood frozen mid-descent down a perfect miniature mountain. Megan shook it again, watching the artificial snow swirl around the lone figure. "You're sure you packed enough warm stuff?" she asked, glancing at her brother who was stuffing last-minute items into his already overflowing suitcase. Tyler Anders rolled his eyes. At 15, he'd recently perfected the teenager's art of making his sister feel simultaneously overprotective and completely uncool. "It's a ski resort, Meg. They have snow. I think I'll figure it out." The school trip had been all Tyler talked about for months. 2 weeks at an exclusive alpine resort in Switzerland. A dream opportunity for the high school ski team. For Megan, now 19 and taking classes at the local community college, it represented something else entirely, the first time her brother would be truly out of reach since their parents' explosive divorce last year. "Here," Tyler said, thrusting the snow globe into her hands. "So you don't worry about me while I'm gone." The gesture surprised her. Since their parents split, Tyler had withdrawn, spent hours locked in his room. This small kindness felt like a glimpse of her old brother. "The red helmet is just like yours," she noted, studying the figure inside. "Exactly. When you worry, and I know you will, just shake this thing and remember I'm having the time of my life on some mountain." Their mother's voice echoed up the stairs. "Tyler, Dad's here to say goodbye before your trip." The warmth in Tyler's expression vanished instantly. Their father's weekend visits had become increasingly tense, filled with probing questions about their mother's new boyfriend. What should have been 30 minutes of goodbyes would likely stretch into an hour of thinly veiled interrogation. As Tyler headed downstairs, Megan noticed his phone light up on the bed. A message flashed across the screen. "Everything set for next week. Remember the plan." The sender was listed only as NP. "Tyler," she called after him. "Someone texted you." He bounded back up, snatched the phone, and read the message. Something shifted in his expression. A hardness she didn't recognize. "Who's NP?" she asked. "Nobody." His voice had an edge. "Just someone from school." Later that night, she caught him sitting alone in the dark, staring at that same phone, thumbs flying across the keyboard. When he noticed her watching, he quickly shoved the device under his pillow. The next morning, as she hugged him goodbye, something felt off. It wasn't until the door closed behind him that she realized what it was. For someone about to embark on the adventure of a lifetime, Tyler hadn't looked excited. He'd looked relieved. Eva Mercer had conducted countless morning roll calls during her 8 years as a ski instructor. This one should have been routine. 24 teenagers from Hamilton High's ski team, all present and accounted for on their 3rd morning at the resort. The orange clipboard in her hand carried the responsibility she never took lightly. Every student accounted for, every helmet secured, every safety protocol followed. Anders, Tyler? The lack of response didn't immediately concern her. Teenagers were notoriously distracted, especially on trips abroad. Eva's gaze swept across the helmeted group assembled outside the lodge. "Tyler Anders?" she repeated, louder this time. The students looked at each other, confused murmurs rising with the morning mist. No one had seen Tyler since dinner the previous night. What happened next would replay in Megan's nightmares for months to come. The resort's emergency protocols activated with alarming efficiency. Within hours, search parties combed the marked trails, then the areas beyond. Rescue dogs sniffed through dense forest while helicopters circled overhead, heat sensors searching for any sign of life among the trees. At 4:17 p.m., a search volunteer emerged from a wooded trail holding a red ski helmet. Tyler's helmet, found abandoned beside a narrow animal path that veered sharply away from the resort's boundaries. The inside liner contained traces of blood. Beyond that point, the trail went cold. No footprints continued. No body was found. Just emptiness and questions. Inspector Rousseau of the local police delivered his assessment with practiced detachment. These mountains, they sometimes keep their secrets. The snow, it covers. The animals, they come. Many bodies, they are never recovered. Megan, flown in with her mother on an emergency flight, refused to accept this, but the helmet was removed. That means he was conscious, right? Someone must have seen something. The inspector's gaze slid toward Eva Mercer, who stood slightly apart from the group, her face ashen. The instructor was distracted during the morning assembly. There was a disagreement with resort staff about the day's planned routes. Eva flinched. It was only for a minute. I never thought. Megan's mother collapsed into harsh, broken sobs. But Megan noticed something else. Eva's expression wasn't just guilt, it was fear. The search continued for 5 more days before authorities officially classified it as a recovery mission rather than a rescue. The resort director, a tall man with unnaturally white teeth named Mr. Steiner, seemed oddly eager to resolve the situation. These tragic accidents, while rare, do happen in remote areas, he explained, his accent thickening as he spoke. We extend our deepest condolences and will compensate the family for this unfortunate event. Megan overheard him later, speaking rapidly in German to someone on the phone. She didn't understand the words, but the tone was clear. This wasn't sorrow, it was annoyance. The morning they were scheduled to leave, Megan sought out Eva Mercer to ask one final question. The front desk informed her that Miss Mercer had resigned her position effective immediately. Her staff quarters were empty, cleared out overnight. On the flight home, Megan clutched Tyler's recovered backpack, found in his room with his passport still inside. Her mother stared vacantly out the window, sedated by the pills the resort doctor had provided. The official story had solidified with suspicious speed. Tyler Anders wandered off trail, probable fatal head injury, body unrecoverable due to terrain and wildlife. But Megan couldn't shake 3 inconsistencies that no one seemed concerned about. Tyler was an experienced skier who would never remove his helmet on a trail. His passport remained in his room, making it impossible for him to have left the country. And most disturbing, when she'd checked his phone records, she discovered his last text was sent at 5:30 a.m. on the morning he vanished to the same contact, NP. I'm ready. Where do I meet you? When she showed this to Inspector Rousseau, he'd pocketed the phone and returned it hours later. The message mysteriously deleted. Technical error, he'd explained. These mountains, they interfere with electronics. As the plane descended toward home, Megan made a silent promise to her brother, whether he was dead or alive. This wasn't over. Something wasn't right at that resort, and someone knew exactly what had happened to Tyler. She would find the truth, no matter how long it took. 18 months crawled by. Seasons changed. Lives moved forward. And Tyler Anders became a fading photograph on a mantle, for everyone except Megan. The Anders family splintered further after the tragedy. Her mother remarried 6 months after the accident, finding comfort in the arms of the lawyer who'd handled the surprisingly generous settlement from the ski resort. Her father relocated to Florida, unable to bear the memories haunting their Midwestern hometown. The family home sold, split down the middle like everything else in the divorce. Megan deferred college indefinitely, taking a job at the local post office instead. Her coworkers assumed it was grief that kept her sorting packages with mechanical precision, her eyes perpetually shadowed by sleepless nights. They weren't entirely wrong. What they didn't know was that every night Megan built her case. One wall of her small apartment had transformed into what her few remaining friends called her beautiful mind project: maps, printouts, timelines, and red string connecting seemingly unrelated details about Tyler's disappearance. "You need therapy, not thumbtacks and string," her mother had said during her last visit, 6 months ago. They hadn't spoken since. October brought the first frost. Megan walked home from work through swirling leaves, her breath fogging in the evening air. Her mail carrier instincts automatically cataloged the items in her box. Electric bill, credit card offer, grocery flyer. Her heart stuttered. A postcard. The front showed a snow-covered alpine resort nestled among jagged peaks. Schwarzwald Peaks, Switzerland's hidden gem, announced elegant script across the bottom. Megan flipped it over with trembling fingers. The address was her parents' old house, where they'd lived before the divorce. No forwarding address should have brought this here. There was no return address, no signature, just 5 words in handwriting she would recognize blindly. "The red bird flies at night." Megan sank to her knees on the cold sidewalk, the world tilting sideways. Tyler's handwriting. Unmistakable. The peculiar way he crossed his T's, the slight leftward slant of his letters. She ran her fingers over the words, feeling the indentations in the paper. This wasn't a cruel joke or a coincidence. This was real. Her brother had written these words. Tyler was alive. Inside her apartment, she flipped on every light and examined the postcard under her brightest lamp. The postmark was blurred, but recent, within the last 2 weeks. Schwarzwald Peaks wasn't the resort where Tyler had disappeared. She'd memorized that name, Alpenrose Lodge. This was somewhere new. "The red bird flies at night." The phrase tickled something in her memory. Red bird. Red like Tyler's helmet. The helmet found abandoned in the snow. With shaking hands, she called her mother. "It's from him, Mom. Tyler sent this. He's alive." The silence on the other end stretched long before her mother spoke. "Megan, honey, we've discussed this." The grief counselor said, "These fantasies. It's his handwriting. Look, I'll send you a picture." "I don't want a picture." Her mother's voice sharpened. "Clayton and I are trying to move forward. This obsession, it's unhealthy. Tyler is gone. You got a huge insurance payout. Is that why you won't even consider?" The line went dead. Her father's response wasn't any better. "Probably some sick prank. File a police report if you want, but leave me out of it." Alone again, Megan turned to her wall of evidence. The red bird flies at night. What did it mean? It had to be code. A message meant specifically for her. Her laptop chimed, an alert she'd set up 18 months ago to notify her of any activity on Tyler's dormant social media accounts. Heart pounding, she clicked open the notification. Someone had logged into Tyler's Instagram account 20 minutes ago. After a year and a half of silence, the account showed no new posts, no activity visible to the public. But someone had accessed it. Someone who knew Tyler's password. The login location data showed Schwarzwald, Switzerland. Megan's phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Stop looking." Ice flooded her veins. She hadn't told anyone about the postcard except her parents. How could anyone know she was looking? Unless, the realization hit with stunning clarity. She was being watched. Had been watched, perhaps since Tyler disappeared. From her closet, Megan pulled out the snow globe, Tyler had given her, the one with the skier in the red helmet. "So you don't worry about me," he'd said. She'd always thought it was just a trinket, a small kindness before his trip. Now she wondered if it had been something else entirely, a clue, a message, maybe even a goodbye. She shook the globe hard, watching the snow swirl around the red-helmeted figure. As the fake snow settled, she noticed something she'd never seen before. Scratched into the base of the tiny mountain, barely visible unless you knew to look for it, was a small bird. A red bird, just like her brother's red helmet. "The red bird flies at night," she whispered, the pieces finally clicking into place. It wasn't just a coded message, it was confirmation. Tyler hadn't accidentally wandered off a ski trail, he hadn't died in some remote ravine. Tyler had disappeared on purpose. And now, 18 months later, he was reaching out to the one person who'd never stopped looking for him. Megan carefully placed the postcard on her evidence wall. Tomorrow she would book a flight to Switzerland. Whatever her brother had gotten himself into, whatever danger had forced him to vanish from his own life, she would find him. The red bird was about to fly again. The blinding whiteness of snow had never looked so ominous. Megan's plane circled above Zurich, Switzerland, the landscape below a deceptive blanket of pristine innocence. She pressed her forehead against the cold window, wondering if somewhere in those mountains, Tyler was looking up at the same sky. She'd liquidated her meager savings, sold her car, and maxed out a credit card to make this journey. In her backpack, the postcard, Tyler's snow globe wrapped carefully in clothing, and 18 months of research compiled into one worn notebook. Before leaving, she'd spent 3 straight days online, digging deeper than ever before. What she found chilled her more than the alpine air ever could. Tyler wasn't the first to disappear. Over the past decade, 7 other teenagers had vanished from European ski resorts. Each disappearance followed a pattern: school trips, students between 14 and 17, bodies never recovered. Each case quickly classified as a tragic accident. Each investigation swiftly closed. Even more disturbing, when Megan searched for information about Alpenrose Lodge, where Tyler had disappeared, she discovered the resort had been sold, completely renovated, and reopened under a new name just 3 months after Tyler vanished. All previous staff replaced, all records gone. Her first stop wasn't Schwarzwald Peaks. That would come later. Instead, she flew to Colorado, where her research had located Ava Mercer, the ski instructor who'd been in charge when Tyler disappeared. Finding Eva hadn't been easy. The woman had changed jobs 4 times in 18 months, finally settling as a back-office administrator at a small American resort, far from the slopes, hidden behind filing cabinets and paperwork. "I have nothing to say to you," Eva had whispered when Megan cornered her in the resort's empty cafeteria. The once confident instructor now looked perpetually hunted, her eyes darting toward exits. "My brother didn't just wander off trail, did he?" Megan placed Tyler's photo on the table between them. Eva's hand trembled as she pushed the photo away. "Accidents happen in the mountains. You should accept that and move on." "Like you did? Is that why you're hiding in an office instead of teaching? Why you've moved 4 times in 18 months? Something cracked in Eva's carefully maintained facade. "They said it would be a simple missing persons case. File the report, conduct the search, close the book. I didn't know they'd. Who's they, Eve?" The former instructor glanced around the empty cafeteria, then leaned forward. "The morning Tyler disappeared, I saw him talking to someone. A man who wasn't part of our group. I assumed he worked for the resort. Did you tell the police?" Eva's laugh was hollow. "The police were part of it. Whatever it is, after I mentioned the man to Inspector Rousseau, I found my apartment broken into that night. Nothing taken, just searched." The message was clear. What did this man look like? Ordinary, forgettable. But Tyler knew him. They weren't meeting by accident. Eva reached into her pocket and removed a small USB drive. I shouldn't have this. If they knew, she slid it across the table. Resort security footage. I copied it before I left. I've been carrying it for 18 months. Too afraid to look at it, too afraid to destroy it. Back in her hotel room, Megan plugged in the drive with shaking hands. Most files were corrupted. But one remained intact, footage from a service corridor, time-stamped 5:42 a.m. on the morning Tyler disappeared. The grainy black and white video showed Tyler, fully dressed, carrying a small backpack. He looked nervous but determined as he met a man whose face remained angled away from the camera. They spoke briefly. The man handed Tyler something small. Then, most shocking of all, they walked out together. No signs of coercion. No struggle. Tyler had gone willingly. In Zurich, Megan rented the cheapest car available and began the 3-hour drive to Schwarzwald Peaks. The resort was even more exclusive than Alpenrose had been, catering to Europe's ultra-wealthy and their families. She couldn't afford a room there, settling instead for a small pension in the village below. Schwarzwald Peaks? Her elderly landlady repeated when Megan inquired. Beautiful place. Not for ordinary people like us. She made the sign of the cross. Strange things happen up there. People come, people go. The mountain keeps its secrets. The next morning, Megan drove up the winding road to the resort. Her story prepared, she was considering the venue for a corporate retreat and wanted to tour the facilities. The lobby gleamed with understated luxury. Timber beams, stone fireplaces, staff moving with practiced efficiency. At the front desk, she presented her cover story with a confidence she didn't feel. The receptionist's smile never reached her eyes. Of course, let me find someone to assist you. She made a brief call, speaking rapid German. Minutes later, a tall man appeared, hand extended. Miss Anders, welcome to Schwarzwald Peaks. I'm Director Keller. We'd be delighted to show you our facilities. Megan froze. She hadn't given her real name. Director Keller's smile widened at her confusion. Your reservation at Frau Muller's pension. Small villages, word travels quickly. The tour proceeded with excruciating normalcy. Conference rooms, dining facilities, spa amenities. Director Keller maintained pleasant conversation while Megan's mind raced. They were expecting her. They knew exactly who she was. Our skiing facilities are world-class, Keller continued as they reached the equipment area. We maintain separate areas for beginners through experts. Megan paused at a rack of helmets. You provide equipment for guests? Everything is included in our packages. Safety is our priority. Her fingers brushed a row of helmets. Blue, black, green, and there at the end red, exactly like Tyler's. You seem particularly interested in our safety equipment, Miss Anders. The way he emphasized her name made her skin crawl. His eyes, she noticed now, were calculating behind his practiced smile. My brother was very safety conscious, she replied carefully. He always wore a red helmet when skiing. Brothers can be so protective. Keller's response made no sense. She hadn't said Tyler was older. Or perhaps it's sisters who are protective. So difficult to let go when someone chooses a different path. Every alarm in Megan's mind screamed danger. This wasn't just knowledge of her identity. This was knowledge of Tyler. I should go, she managed, moving toward the exit. I've seen enough for today. Keller nodded pleasantly. Of course. The mountains aren't for everyone, Miss Anders. Sometimes it's best to return to familiar territories. In the parking lot, Megan discovered her rental car wouldn't start. Battery problems in this cold, explained the apologetic valet. We've called for service, but it might take hours. Perhaps you'd enjoy our restaurant while waiting? Trapped. She was effectively trapped at the resort. In the restroom, she splashed cold water on her face, fighting rising panic. When she looked up, A young employee was watching her from the doorway, a girl no older than 19 with solemn eyes. "Your car will be ready in 20 minutes, the girl said quietly, her accent thick but English clear. "They're searching it now. You should leave and not return." Megan stared at her reflection in the mirror. "Why are you helping me?" The girl's eyes darted to the door. "Some come here by choice. Others do not have that luxury. Your brother made his choice." "You know Tyler? Is he here?" The girl shook her head. "I know of him. He is not here, but others watch for people like you, family who cannot let go." "Where is he?" "The red bird flies at night," the girl whispered, then slipped away as voices approached. 20 minutes later, her car mysteriously worked again. As Megan drove down the mountain, her hands shaking on the steering wheel, she noticed a black SUV following at a discreet distance. Back at the pension, she found her room had been searched, subtly, professionally. Nothing obviously disturbed, but she knew. The postcard and snow globe remained safe, hidden in a waterproof pouch taped under the bathroom sink. That night, unable to sleep, she reviewed everything she'd learned. Tyler had walked away willingly. The authorities had deliberately mishandled the investigation. The resort staff knew exactly who she was and why she'd come. And most importantly, someone at Schwarzwald Peaks knew the phrase, "The red bird flies at night." Her laptop chimed with an incoming email. No sender name, just an attachment. Heart pounding, she clicked it open. A photograph appeared. So ordinary it took her breath away. Tyler, alive, sitting at an outdoor cafe. He looked older, his hair different, dressed in expensive clothes she didn't recognize. The photo was clearly recent, maybe days old. At the bottom, typed text read, "Some birds choose their cages. Go home, Megan." She stared at her brother's face, tears blurring her vision. He was alive. Actually alive. A soft knock at her door made her jump. She approached cautiously, peering through the peephole to see a young man, early 20s, local, nervous.
"Miss Anders,"
he whispered when she cracked the door. "I'm Lucas. Sophia, from the resort, sent me. We need to talk about the pipeline." "The what?" Lucas glanced over his shoulder. "The organization your brother joined. The one that runs through resorts like Schwarzwald Peaks and Alpenrose. The one that's watching you right now." Megan let him in, checking the hallway before locking the door behind him. "Your brother isn't the only one who disappeared into the pipeline," Lucas explained, his voice low. "My brother vanished from a different resort 5 years ago. The same story. Tragic accident, no body recovered. But then came the postcards, the sightings." "What is this pipeline?" "A network. They recruit teenagers, troubled ones, smart ones, ones who want to disappear. They offer new identities, new lives. Some end up in legitimate businesses. Others," he trailed off. "Others what?" Lucas met her gaze. "The pipeline has many branches. Some flow into very dark places. Human trafficking." Megan felt sick. "Sometimes. But it's more complex. They're building something, an organization that spans countries, businesses, governments. They start with teenagers because they're moldable, vulnerable."
"And Tyler?"
"Which branch is he in?" "I don't know specifically, but the phrase on your postcard, 'The red bird flies at night,' it's code. It means he's operational, active in their network." Megan sank onto the bed. What does any of this have to do with ski resorts? They're perfect covers. Remote, transient populations. Wealthy clients. Lots of cash flow to hide other transactions. And accidents happen regularly. The perfect explanation for disappearances. Through the window, Megan noticed the black SUV still parked across the street. "They're watching us right now, aren't they?" Lucas nodded grimly. "They know exactly where you are. The question is, what will they do about it? What do they want?" For you to go home and forget, people who dig too deep into the pipeline tend to have accidents of their own. Megan clutched the snow globe in her pocket. I'm not leaving without answers. I need to know if Tyler's okay, if he needs help. He sent you that postcard for a reason, Lucas said. The question is, was it a warning to stay away or a cry for help? Before she could respond, her phone chimed with a text from an unknown number, tomorrow 10 p.m. Cable car station 5. Come alone or he dies. Megan showed Lucas the message. His face paled. It's a trap, he said. But it might be our only chance to find out what happened to your brother. Outside, the black SUV started its engine. Snow fell in thick, silent curtains as Megan hiked the service path toward Cable Car Station 5. The official routes closed at sundown, but Lucas had shown her maintenance trails that wound behind the resort's manicured facade. Her breath clouded in the freezing air, each step crunching loudly in the oppressive quiet of the mountain night. 2 days had passed since the mysterious text. Lucas had begged her not to go alone, but Megan couldn't risk Tyler's safety, if he was even still alive. The email photo proved he had been recently, but in this shadowy world she'd stumbled into, anything could have changed in 48 hours. Cable Car Station 5 served the resort's most remote runs, perched on the edge of a wilderness area where the mountain faced away from the village. In winter's peak season, it transported wealthy thrill-seekers to pristine Powder. Tonight, its darkened silhouette loomed against the snow-heavy sky like a forgotten sentinel. Megan checked her watch, 9:52 p.m. Her fingers, despite thick gloves, had gone numb with cold and fear. The station door hung slightly ajar. Inside, emergency lights cast weak yellow pools across the concrete floor. The massive cable system sat motionless. The cars locked in their overnight positions. Hello? Her voice echoed through the cavernous space. A soft whirring sound drew her attention upward. A security camera mounted in the corner pivoted toward her, its red light blinking steadily. She was being watched. I'm here like you asked, she called out, turning in a slow circle. Where's my brother? A crackling sound preceded a voice through the station's PA system. Remove your gloves, hat, and coat. Place them on the floor. Turn all pockets inside out. She complied, shivering as the building's inadequate heating failed to cut through her thin sweater. The service elevator. Go down. Megan hadn't noticed the small elevator tucked behind the ticket counter. Its doors opened with a cheerful ding that seemed obscenely out of place. Inside, only one button illuminated, Sub-Level 3. The descent took longer than expected, suggesting the facility extended deep into the mountain itself. When the doors finally opened, Megan stepped into an environment so unexpected it momentarily stole her breath. Not the dark, damp underground space she'd imagined, but a sleek corridor with recessed lighting and polished concrete floors. It resembled the hallway of an ultra-modern office building or research facility. Climate-controlled, spotless, completely at odds with the rustic ski resort above. A young man in a charcoal suit approached. His face struck Megan with an uncomfortable sense of déjà vu, not quite familiar but somehow known. Miss Anders, he greeted her with a Swiss-German accent. You've caused quite a disruption to our operations. Please follow me. Where's Tyler? All in good time. He led her through a series of corridors where they passed other young people, all between 18 and 30, all moving with purposeful efficiency, many glancing at her with undisguised curiosity. None spoke. The facility hummed with quiet activity despite the late hour. They entered a minimalist conference room where 3 people waited. Director Keller from the resort, a silver-haired woman Megan didn't recognize, and a young man seated with his back to the door. When he turned, Megan's knees nearly buckled. Tyler. But not Tyler as she remembered. This version of her brother sat with perfect posture, dressed in an expensive suit similar to her escort's. His hair was shorter, styled differently. He'd filled out, no longer the lanky 15-year-old who'd left for a ski trip 18 months ago. Most jarring was his expression, cool, assessing, devoid of the emotional reunion she'd imagined countless times. "Hello, Megan," he said, his voice deeper than she remembered. "You should have stayed home." The silver-haired woman gestured to a chair. "Please, Miss Anders, we have much to discuss." Megan remained standing. "What have you done to him?" Tyler sighed. "They haven't done anything to me. I made a choice."
You were 15.
I was suffocating. His voice hardened. Trapped between two parents weaponizing their children in a toxic divorce, I found a way out. Director Keller cleared his throat. "Your brother is now known as Anton Weiss. He's one of our most promising junior analysts, currently specializing in cryptographic security systems." "You faked his death," Megan whispered. "Do you have any idea what that did to our family?" A flicker of something, regret, crossed Tyler's face before disappearing behind his composed mask. "The family was already destroyed. You were the only one who truly cared, Megan. That's why I sent the postcard." The silver-haired woman interjected smoothly, which was against protocol, a lapse in judgment that necessitated this meeting. Megan tried to process the surreal situation. Below a ski resort in the Swiss Alps, she was essentially attending a performance review for her supposedly dead brother, now living under an assumed identity. "What is this place? What is the pipeline?" "We prefer to call it the network," the woman replied. "We identify exceptional young people who, for various reasons, would benefit from a fresh start. We provide new identities, education, and purpose." "You prey on vulnerable teenagers," Megan countered. Tyler, or Anton now, leaned forward. "They found me, Megan, in an online forum for kids with divorced parents. They recognized my potential when everyone else just saw a moody teenager." "And the other missing kids? The ones who disappeared from ski resorts like you?" Director Keller smiled thinly. "All thriving in their new lives. The ski resorts are merely convenient transition points, remote, easily controlled environments where disappearances can be plausibly explained." The pieces clicked together in Megan's mind. "You're building some kind of organization recruiting teenagers before they're even adults, giving them new identities." She looked around at the gleaming facility. "This isn't just about helping troubled kids." "Very perceptive," the woman acknowledged. "The network has many functions. Some participants work in legitimate businesses we control. Others serve different purposes." "And where do the red birds fly at night?" Megan asked, watching their reactions carefully. A tense silence fell over the room. Tyler's composed facade cracked slightly.
That was a mistake, he said quietly. A personal code between Megan and me. It should never have been used.
The silver-haired woman's eyes narrowed. Indeed, one that raised unnecessary questions and brought her here, compromising operational security. Director Keller tapped something on a tablet, and a screen on the wall illuminated with images that made Megan's blood freeze: her parents' homes, her apartment, her workplace, surveillance photos, recent and comprehensive. "We've been watching you since your brother joined us, Miss Anders. Standard protocol for family members who might ask inconvenient questions." Tyler stood abruptly. "This wasn't the agreement. My family was supposed to be left alone." "They were until you reached out to your sister," the woman responded coldly. "Actions have consequences, Anton." Megan saw something she recognized then, fear in her brother's eyes. Despite his new identity, his expensive clothes and confident posture, Tyler was afraid of these people. "What happens now?" she asked. The woman smiled without warmth. "That depends on you. We have two options. You can sign our confidentiality agreements, Return home and live your life with the knowledge that your brother is alive and well. Periodic updates will be provided if you maintain silence. And the second option? You join your brother in the network. We always have positions for intelligent, resourceful individuals. You've demonstrated remarkable investigative skills. And if I choose neither? If I go to the authorities? Director Keller's smile was pitying. With what evidence? A postcard. A brother who will deny knowing you. Besides, several authorities already work with us. He gestured to the surveillance photos. And accidents happen on mountains every day. The threat hung in the air, clear and chilling. Tyler moved closer to Megan, his expression softening for the first time. Please, Meg, take the first option. Go home. Live your life. I'm okay. But up close, she could see what the others couldn't. Tyler tapping his finger against his leg in a pattern she recognized from their childhood. Morse code. A skill they'd learned together during a summer obsessed with spy novels. DANGER. Maintaining her expression, Megan looked into her brother's eyes and saw the truth. Whatever the network was, whatever Tyler had gotten himself into, he wasn't okay at all. I need time to think, Megan said, her voice steadier than she felt. This is a lot to process. The silver-haired woman who had yet to offer her name checked her watch. You have until tomorrow morning. Director Keller will arrange accommodations for you here tonight. I'd prefer to return to my pension. My things have already been collected, Director Keller interjected smoothly. For your convenience. For my monitoring, Megan translated silently. Can I speak with my brother alone? She asked. After 18 months, thinking he was dead, I think we deserve that much. The woman hesitated, then nodded. 20 minutes. This room is monitored, of course. As they exited, leaving Tyler and Megan alone, he immediately raised a finger to his lips. He removed a pen from his pocket, wrote something on a napkin, then showed it to her. Cameras. Microphones. Follow my lead. You look good, Ty, she said aloud, while her mind raced. The fancy suit suits you? It's Anton now, he corrected, writing frantically. They watch everything. Trust no one. Right, Anton. Sorry. Hard habit to break. She casually moved around the table as if examining the space. So you really chose this? All of it? I did. His eyes told a different story as he wrote, I made a mistake. They won't let me leave. And you're happy? She pressed, taking the pen from him. Where are we really? She wrote. Tyler nodded emphatically for the cameras. I have purpose here. Important work. On paper, underground complex. Spans kilometers. Multiple exits. For 20 minutes they maintained this dual conversation, verbal reassurances for their monitors, written truths for each other. With each exchange, the horrifying reality became clearer. The network wasn't just recruiting troubled teens for legitimate businesses. That was only one branch of their operation. Others were trained for darker purposes, corporate espionage, technological theft, even political manipulation. Young, malleable minds shaped into assets, their very existence erased from official records. Tyler had joined willingly, seduced by promises of escape and importance. By the time he discovered the truth, he was trapped, his fingerprints on enough questionable activities to ensure his cooperation. The postcard had been a desperate gamble, reached after months of careful planning. As their time wound down, he pressed one final note into her hand. A. Demon Level 2. Server Room. Files prove everything. Lucas can help. Megan quickly memorized it before crumpling the paper and stuffing it into her pocket. I still don't understand why they're giving me a choice, she whispered. Why not just eliminate the problem? Tyler's smile was grim. Because they're always recruiting, and because accidents involving both siblings raise more questions than they answer. The door opened before she could respond. Director Keller stood waiting. Your quarters are ready, Miss Anders. Anton, you're expected at the morning briefing. Megan hugged her brother tightly, feeling him slip something into her pocket. I'll see you tomorrow, she said loudly enough for the microphones. The room they provided was comfortable but Spartan, with no phone or internet connection. The door, she discovered, locked from the outside. Her suitcase sat on the bed, clearly searched. Once alone, she checked what Tyler had slipped her, a small key card labeled maintenance. In the bathroom, running water to mask any conversation, she extracted all the crumpled notes they'd exchanged and flushed them. Sleep was impossible. Around 3 a.m., she heard soft footsteps outside her door, followed by the electronic beep of a key card. The door opened a crack, and a young woman peered in, the same girl who had warned her at the resort. "Sophia," Megan whispered. The girl nodded, gesturing urgently. "Quickly, security rotation gives us 7 minutes." In the darkened corridor, Sophia led her through a maze of passages, using her own key card at various checkpoints. "Lucas is waiting at the emergency exit," she whispered. "Your brother contacted him through me." "Why are you helping us?" Sophia's eyes hardened. "I was 14 when they brought me here. Not everyone comes by choice." They descended a narrow stairwell that seemed to go down forever. At the bottom, a heavy door opened to reveal Lucas waiting in a maintenance tunnel, his face tense. "This way," he urged. "We can't access Admin Level 2 from here. We need to go around." The maintenance tunnels formed a hidden network beneath the official facility, damp, dimly lit arteries that apparently served multiple buildings. Lucas navigated them with practiced familiarity. "How do you know these tunnels?" Megan asked as they hurried along. "My brother," Lucas said simply. "Before he disappeared completely, he managed to send me maps. I've been studying them for years, waiting for a chance." They emerged in what appeared to be a storage level. Lucas pointed to a service elevator. "That can take us to Admin Level 2, but we need higher clearance." Megan produced the key card Tyler had given her. "Will this work?" The elevator required both Sophia's card and Tyler's maintenance card, but finally opened with a soft chime. As they ascended, Lucas outlined their task. "The server room contains records of every person who's entered the network, what they're being used for, and who's funding the operation. If we can copy those files, we'd have leverage." "Leverage for what?" Megan asked. "To get your brother out, to expose the network, to ensure our own safety." Lucas's expression was grim. "Without it, none of us leaves this mountain alive." The elevator stopped at Admin Level 2, the doors sliding open to reveal a pristine corridor lined with glass-walled offices. It was deserted at this hour, but security cameras swiveled toward the elevator immediately. Sophia pointed down the hall. "Server room. Last door on the right. We have maybe 5 minutes before security responds to the unauthorized access." They ran. The server room hummed with the quiet efficiency of expensive technology. Racks of equipment stretched from floor to ceiling, blinking lights casting blue-green shadows across their faces. Security cameras here were even more numerous, one in each corner, all pivoting to track their movements. 4 minutes, Sophia warned, her eyes on her watch. "The security system has already flagged our presence." Lucas moved to a central terminal, fingers flying across the keyboard. "I need the maintenance card again." Megan handed it over, watching him insert it into a reader. The screen flashed, "Partial access granted." "It's not enough," he muttered. "We need administrator credentials." Sophia shook her head. "Only network executives have those. We need to go before security arrives." Megan stared at the blinking cursor, an idea forming. "Tried bird." "What?" "As the password, tried bird, or red bird, all one word." Lucas typed it in. The screen flashed red, "Access denied." Try bird flies at night, Megan insisted. The moment he entered it, the screen changed, displaying a dizzying array of directories and files. How did you know? Lucas breathed. Tyler created this backdoor, Megan realized. He's been planning this for months. They worked frantically, Lucas copying massive amounts of data while Sophia kept watch. The files confirmed everything and revealed worse. The network operated globally, with facilities similar to Schwarzwald peaks scattered across remote locations worldwide. Their operations spanned legitimate businesses, technology theft, and political manipulation, all funded by a consortium of billionaires looking to influence global affairs from the shadows. Most disturbing were the recruitment files. Thousands of teenagers, categorized by skills, psychological profiles, and exploitable vulnerabilities. Tyler's file contained detailed assessments of his computer aptitude alongside notes about his family disillusionment, making him ideal for permanent integration. 3 minutes, Sophia warned. Almost there, Lucas murmured, eyes fixed on the progress bar. Megan opened another directory, labeled Exit Protocols, and felt her blood freeze. It contained detailed contingency plans for eliminating compromised assets and containment failures. The language was clinical, but the meaning was clear. Participants who posed security risks were permanently silenced, their deaths staged as accidents or suicides. Several names were highlighted as recently closed, including one Megan recognized, Eva Mercer. The ski instructor, she whispered. They killed her. Lucas glanced over. When? 2 days ago. After I spoke with her, the weight of this settled heavily between them. Eva had died because she helped Megan. Download complete, Lucas announced, removing a small drive from the terminal. 2 copies, like we planned. He handed one to Sophia, keeping the other. 1 minute, Sophia said. They erased evidence of their access and hurried to the elevator, but the doors remained stubbornly closed. Sophia swiped her card repeatedly with no response. They've locked down the elevators, Lucas realized. We need another way out. Sophia pointed down the corridor. Emergency stairs, that way. The stairwell was dark, illuminated only by red exit signs. They descended rapidly, footsteps echoing metallically. Below them, a door slammed. Above them, another. Security approaching from both directions. Here, Sophia hissed, pulling open a door on the 3rd level. The residential wing, we can cut through. They emerged into a quiet hallway lined with doors, quarters for network personnel. Most would be sleeping at 3:30 a.m., but any noise risked waking them. They crept forward, passing door after identical door. Suddenly, one opened. Tyler stood in the doorway, dressed but disheveled, as if he'd been waiting up all night. He quickly pulled them inside, closing the door silently behind them. They know, he said without preamble. The alarm triggered directly to the director's quarters. They're mobilizing the security team. Megan hugged him fiercely. We got the files. We know what they're doing. Not everything. Tyler's voice was grim. The real operations go deeper. The network isn't just about corporate espionage or political manipulation. They're building something bigger, a shadow infrastructure designed to function regardless of what governments or global events do. The people funding this believe society is heading for collapse, and they're positioning themselves to emerge as the new power structure afterward. How do we get out? Lucas asked. They've locked down the elevators. Tyler moved to his closet, pushing aside clothes to reveal a small panel. Maintenance shaft runs parallel to the elevators, but independent of their systems. He punched a code into the panel, and it slid open, revealing a narrow passage. It'll take you to the service tunnels below. From there, Sophia knows the way out. You're coming with us, Megan insisted, grabbing his arm. Tyler hesitated. They'll know I helped you. The minute I disappear, they'll trigger containment protocols. Everyone connected to me will be targeted, including Mom and Dad. We have the files, Lucas reminded him, patting his pocket. Not enough. Not yet. Tyler pressed a small object into Megan's hand. A key. This opens a safety deposit box in Zurich. Account number 8675309. More evidence inside. Things I've been collecting for months. Megan realized with growing horror what her brother was saying. Tyler's smile was sad but determined. Someone has to create a diversion. Give you time to get clear of the mountain. From somewhere in the building, an alarm began to wail. Dawn touched the Alps with golden fire as Megan, Lucas, and Sophia emerged from a service door hidden among rocks a kilometer downslope from Schwarzwald peaks. The resort gleamed innocently above them, giving no indication of the facility concealed beneath or the manhunt now underway within it. We need to keep moving, Lucas urged, helping Sophia navigate the rocky terrain. The girl had twisted her ankle during their escape through the maintenance tunnels. They'll have vehicles searching the road soon. Megan paused, looking back up the mountain. Somewhere inside that complex, Tyler remained, buying them time while placing himself directly in danger. The thought made her physically ill. My car is still at the pension, she said. If we can reach it— Too risky, Sophia interrupted. They'll watch it first. We need another way down the mountain. Lucas pointed to a trail marker visible through the trees. That's the public hiking path. It leads to the village cable car station. If we can reach it before the morning staff arrives— They pushed forward, Sophia limping between them. The mountain air bit with pre-dawn cold, their breath clouding as they half ran, half stumbled down the rough path. Behind them, the distinctive sound of helicopter rotors broke the morning silence. They're mobilizing air search, Sophia gasped. We need cover. The village cable car station sat deserted when they arrived, not yet staffed for the 7 a.m. opening. Lucas led them to a maintenance door, using skills that suggested this wasn't his first break-in. Inside, the control room offered both shelter and opportunity. I can operate this, he said, examining the control panel. My summer job. 3 years ago. If we can get down to the village before they establish roadblocks— The first cable car began its descent, swaying gently above the valley. Through its windows, they watched Schwarzwald peaks recede, the picturesque resort growing smaller against the mountainside, its secrets once again hidden beneath pristine snow and luxury. Halfway down, the car jerked to a sudden stop. They've overridden the system, Sophia whispered, clutching the handrail. Through the windows they could see figures gathering at the lower station, their black tactical gear unmistakable even at a distance. They're waiting for us, Lucas said unnecessarily. Suspended hundreds of feet above the valley floor, they were trapped in a glass box with nowhere to run. Megan pulled the thumb drive from her pocket, clutching it like a talisman. The evidence they'd risked everything for suddenly seemed inadequate protection against the forces arrayed below. My phone, she realized, patting her pockets. I had it in my room. They have my phone. Sophia nodded grimly. Standard procedure. They'll have accessed all your contacts. The implication hit like a physical blow. Everyone Megan had ever called or texted was now potentially compromised, potentially at risk. Her remaining friends, former co-workers. Her parents. They'll go after my family, she whispered. To control me, to control Tyler. Only if they catch us, Lucas said firmly. We have what they fear most, exposure. We just need to reach someone who can use it. The cable car lurched, beginning to move again, not down to the waiting tactical team but reversing course, heading back up the mountain. What's happening? Megan asked. Sophia pointed to the upper station, now visible as they ascended. A lone figure stood at the controls. Even at a distance, Megan recognized her brother. The car docked with a gentle bump. Tyler yanked the doors open. "Quick! They've spotted me on the cameras. We have minutes at most." He looked different, a bruise blooming on his cheekbone, his expensive suit exchanged for practical outdoor clothing, a backpack slung over one shoulder. "How did you get out?" Megan asked as they scrambled from the car. "I know the facility better than they think," he replied, leading them not back toward the hiking trail, but to a small shed beside the station. Inside sat two snowmobiles. The network maintains these for emergency access. Keys are always in the ignition. "Two machines, 4 people," Lucas noted. Tyler nodded. "You and Sophia take one. Head east through the forest trail. It connects to the next valley where there's a train station in clusters. Megan and I will create a diversion heading west." "The evidence," Lucas began. "Keep your copy," Tyler instructed. "Get it to the authorities in Bern, not local police. They're compromised. Federal level only." He handed Lucas a thick envelope. "Contacts. People who've been investigating the network for years. They'll know what to do with the files." The sound of approaching helicopters made further discussion impossible. They split up as planned, the snowmobiles roaring to life and veering in opposite directions just as the first helicopter crested the ridge. Megan clung to Tyler as they raced through the forest, snow spraying behind them. The machine growled beneath them, powerful but conspicuous. Behind them, she heard the helicopter changing course to follow their track. "They're on to us," she shouted over the engine's roar. Tyler nodded, pushing the snowmobile faster, weaving through trees with practiced skill. The helicopter stayed with them, joined now by a second one sweeping in from the west. "Hold on," Tyler yelled, suddenly cutting the machine hard right, off the trail and down a steep embankment that had them momentarily airborne before crashing back to the snow. The maneuver brought them under a dense canopy of pines, temporarily invisible from the air. He cut the engine, the sudden silence deafening. Above them, helicopters circled, unable to spot them through the thick branches. "They'll send ground teams next," Tyler whispered, pulling Megan toward a rocky outcropping. "There's a shepherd's hut just over that rise. We can shelter there until dark." "Why did you stay behind?" Megan demanded once they were safely inside the tiny stone structure. "Why risk yourself when you could have escaped with us?" Tyler sank onto a rough wooden bench, suddenly looking exhausted, "Because I needed to know if it was worth saving." "What?" "The network." He rubbed his face. "Not everything they do is evil, Megan. Some of it actually helps people. Gives them new starts, opportunities they'd never have otherwise. They fake deaths. They exploit vulnerable teenagers. They killed Eva Mercer." "I know. That's why I had to be sure before destroying it all." He withdrew a second thumb drive from his pocket. "This contains everything I've gathered over 18 months. The evidence in the Zurich bank vault is just backup. This," he held up the small device, "is enough to bring down the network's entire global operation. Names of funders, locations of facilities, records of criminal activities." Megan stared at him, understanding dawning. "You've been planning this from the beginning, since before you sent the postcard." "Not from the beginning. Not when I first joined. I believed in it then, believed I was escaping to something better." His laugh was hollow. "By the time I realized what I'd gotten into, it was too late to simply walk away. So I became valuable to them, made myself essential to their cybersecurity operations, gained access, and waited. For what? For the right moment. For someone I could trust. For you." He took her hand. "I knew you wouldn't stop looking for me." A sound outside made them both freeze. The crunch of footsteps in snow. Tyler motioned for silence, moving to peek through a crack in the wooden shutters. "Ground team," he whispered. 4 of them, 50 meters out. Megan felt panic rising. "What do we do?" "There's a root cellar," Tyler said, moving to a worn rug on the floor and pulling it aside to reveal a trapdoor. "Local shepherds use it to store supplies. Get in." "What about you?" "I'll lead them away from here. Circle back when I can." Before she could protest, the door of the hut burst open. Framed in the doorway stood the silver-haired woman from the facility, flanked by two armed men in tactical gear. "Anton," she said, using Tyler's network name. "I'm disappointed." Tyler stepped away from the trapdoor, keeping the woman's attention on him. "It's over, Volkov. We have the files. Copies are already on their way to federal authorities." The woman Volkov seemed untroubled by this news. "A minor inconvenience. The network has survived exposure attempts before. Our reach extends further than you can imagine." "Not this time," Tyler countered. "This time you've left too many loose ends." "Like your sister?" Volkov's smile was predatory as she stepped aside, allowing a third guard to enter, pushing a captive before him. "Lucas," his face bloodied, hands bound behind his back. "Your other friends escaped. For now," Volkov continued, "but we'll find them. The network always collects its assets." Tyler's composure cracked visibly. "Let them go. Your quarrel is with me." "My quarrel is with inefficiency and compromise," Volkov corrected. "You were such a promising acquisition, Anton. Your aptitude scores were exceptional. Now you've become a liability. Assets that become liabilities must be managed accordingly." She nodded to one of the guards, who raised his weapon. "Wait!" Megan stepped forward, hands raised. "The files. I know where they are." Volkov's calculating gaze shifted to her. "The ones your friend carried were recovered when we captured him. If there are others, it would be wise to tell us now." "There's a third copy," Megan improvised. "Insurance. I've set it to upload to Journalist automatically if I don't enter a code every 12 hours. It was a bluff, but one that made Volkov hesitate. "Show me this system. Now." "I need my phone. The one you took from my room." Volkov studied her for a long moment, then nodded to a guard who produced Megan's phone from his pocket. As he handed it to her, Megan caught Tyler's eye. A silent message passed between them, a childhood signal they'd used when coordinating against their parents. On 3. 1. Megan accessed her phone, pretending to navigate to a specific app. 2. She shifted her weight, preparing. 3. Instead of showing the screen to Volkov, Megan hurled the phone at the nearest guard. Simultaneously, Tyler tackled the one holding Lucas. Chaos erupted in the small space, shouts, the crack of a pistol firing into the ceiling, bodies colliding. Megan scrambled for the fallen guard's weapon, her fingers closing around cold metal just as Volkov seized her by the hair, yanking her head back painfully. "Enough," the older woman commanded. The room froze. Tyler stood with his hands raised, a guard's pistol pressed to his temple. Lucas remained on his knees, blood dripping from his reopened wounds, and Megan found herself staring down the barrel of Volkov's pistol. "The young always think themselves so clever," Volkov said, her voice almost sad. "But the network has existed for 30 years. It will outlive this moment, and it will outlive you." Her finger tightened on the trigger. A deafening blast shattered the standoff. But it wasn't Volkov's gun. The back wall of the hut exploded inward in a spray of wood and stone, knocking everyone to the ground. Through the newly created hole rushed armed figures in tactical gear different from the network's security team. "Federal police! Weapons down! On the ground! Now!" 6 months later, Megan stood at her apartment window, watching spring rain wash the city clean. On her coffee table, newspapers were spread open to coverage that had dominated headlines for months. Global Shadow Organization exposed billionaire consortium indicted in Antwerp scandal, missing teens found alive in underground facility. She sipped her tea, remembering Sophia's explanation in the aftermath. The girl had separated from Lucas during their escape, continuing alone to reach the federal contacts Tyler had provided. Her testimony, combined with the files, had been enough to mobilize a raid. Not everyone from the network had been captured. Some, like Volkov, had utilized escape plans long established for this contingency. Others had leveraged political connections to avoid prosecution. But the organization's backbone was broken, its facilities seized, its funding frozen. Most importantly, dozens of teenagers reported missing over the years had been recovered, some who had joined willingly like Tyler, others who had been coerced or manipulated. The process of reintegrating them, establishing legal identities, reconnecting with families, it was ongoing, complex, and often painful. A knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. She opened it to find Tyler, legally Tyler Anders again, standing awkwardly in the hallway. The bus was late. He offered by way of greeting. At 17 now, he looked both older and younger than his network persona, more authentic but less confident, the expensive suits replaced by typical teenage attire. Megan hugged him tightly. These visits were part of his reintegration therapy, supervised by the Federal Victim Services Unit. Small steps toward rebuilding a life that had been erased. "Mom called," she said as they settled on the couch. "She wants you to come for dinner next weekend. Dad might be there too." Tyler nodded, fidgeting with his sleeve. "Dr. Riker says I should try." Part of accepting that people can change. The irony wasn't lost on either of them. Their parents' toxic divorce had driven Tyler to the network. Now their tentative reconciliation was part of his healing. "What about you?" she asked. "The nightmares?" "Less frequent," he shrugged. "The deprogramming helps, separating what was real from what they conditioned in us." Not all the network's victims had adjusted as well. Some, too deeply indoctrinated or traumatized, struggled severely. Others, who had risen to positions of power within the organization, faced criminal charges despite their young ages and complicated victimhood. "Lucas called yesterday," Megan mentioned. "The support group is growing. More families coming forward." After recovering from his injuries, Lucas had established a foundation for families of network victims, creating the support system he'd wished for during his own brother's disappearance. Megan volunteered there twice weekly. "Sophia might be getting asylum," Tyler said quietly. "Her testimony was crucial. They can't send her back." Megan nodded, relieved. The Swiss teenager had no family to return to. The network had been her only home since age 14. Outside, the rain softened to a gentle patter. Megan remembered the snow globe Tyler had given her before his disappearance. Now a piece of evidence in a federal investigation. The tiny skier in the red helmet, trapped in perpetual motion yet never actually moving. "Do you miss it?" she asked suddenly. "The person you were becoming there? Anton Weiss?" Tyler considered this, his expression thoughtful. "Sometimes I miss the certainty. Knowing exactly who I was supposed to be, what I was supposed to do." He looked at her, his eyes clearer than they'd been in years. "But I'd rather have the mess of figuring it out myself than have someone else design my life." Megan squeezed his hand. The recovery road stretched long before them all, but at least now they walked it in daylight, no longer trapped in shadows where red birds flew only by night. That's the end of today's story. If you were Megan, would you have risked everything to find your missing brother? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Hit subscribe to unlock more mysteries like this one. Our next story is waiting for you.